Welcome to Fast Pace, the new growth, leadership and management podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Dean Mackie. We wanted to peel back the layers on what happens in the world of fast-paced real estate agencies, from new leadership models to the management challenges we all face each day. This is about a new era in the estate agency sector. Rapid changes to business models, service lines, remuneration and growth present the greatest opportunities that we've ever seen. Sit back, get inspired, grow your skills and reimagine what's possible with Fast Pace. Every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Josh Phegan Digital. There is no doubt that every single person in your business actually has an expiry date on them. Dean, believe it or not, even you and I actually have expiry dates. And this is a really important conversation to have that idea about building out a talent development squad. You know, what actually is it? How does it actually work? Why is it important to a business? Let's talk a little bit about what is a talent development squad and is this an important thing for you to be building today for a great business for tomorrow?
No doubt, Josh. Well, just look, I must say I agree with you. You and I both have expiry dates. I think about me having expiry dates most days, actually. But then again, every once in a while I get a little bit kick along where I think, well, maybe I've got a bit more in me yet. But, yeah. You know, I guess it's also about being in love with what you do. So if we come back to the topic at hand around talent squad and building talent, I think this is a cornerstone of any key business, in my view, that I've been involved in, is that, you know, and I've worked corporately as well as in the real estate space for some time, to understand, well, how do you actually go about, you know, getting a handle on how to build talent? And I think it starts right back at getting clear around what drives people, what makes them tick, what are their dreams and aspirations. Like, I had a meeting today with an individual who's got lots of potential, doing really well in his previous business, has come into our environment and is now looking to go, well, hold on a minute, I can actually go to a whole new level, right? But for him to actually go to a whole new level, despite the fact he's had a high level of success, there are some things that he's going to have to let go of and reinvent to do that. And often that comes back to the fact that when I dived into it today, he didn't really have the goals that were going to drive him to the next level. He sort of got a bit in the comfort zone and so on and so on. So I think that if you've got a team or a leadership group or a business and its culture is about improving and learning more and setting goals and being on purpose, then that'll feed through to people's appetite to wanting to get better or not. And if you've got a culture of improvement and someone comes into that and they're not into that, then they're going to get isolated pretty quickly because they'll be the ones who aren't prepared to sort of change and improve. So I see it as a key. You know, why would you want to go and have a talent improvement focus? Well, why it's about future-proofing your business. It's about continuous upskilling of your people, right? And challenging them. Like, I got a guy who's been with me now we've been together for 15 years. And, you know, today I just could see he just lost his mojo, you know, but there's some certain things that I know if we just simplified his business and my team, because it's not just about finding new talent, but it's getting the best out of the people that you got, right?
Yeah.
And so he and I had a very brief conversation and he said, well, that would take a lot of stress away from me. I went, yeah, right. So that's the one thing I need to focus on him with the next little bit to help him improve. Because this is how you attract and retain good people, by having development programs in place that's really about caring about that individual and how whatever's going on for them at the time. I mean, not everybody's the same. Not everybody wants to go and write the same fees. Some people at different times have, you're going to get the best out of that person because they want to achieve more life balance. They want to spend some time with their kids at this particular phase in their life. And that may change later, but that's how you're going to retain them and keep them focused and energized. So, you know, to me, having a big focus on building talent is about improving, you know, their performance and improving your own performance. And so there's lots of different ways that you can do that. And you know, I think there's no one size fits all, but I think if we start with the basic premise of going, let's identify what, you know, if we were doing a coaching session or we were trying to work out more broadly across the business what our needs are, how do we identify what our needs are? So getting clear on what are those needs. You know, you're going to have different people at different stages. Some people who are emerging talent in the organization are going to need a very different approach to what their development needs are going to be than someone who's sort of already sort of doing okay and starting to build a team versus someone who's already got a bigger team, and they're wanting to go to the next level. They've got different ambition and different goals and different drivers. So understanding that is really important. I think the other part is if you're fair income about building talent, then recruit people who actually want to be coached and want to learn and grow, right? If you're not recruiting people that have that mindset, then, you know, you're actually battling from the beginning on working out how do you get them to achieve a better result or a better outcome or improve their skills or whatever. And then from all of that, once you get clear on it, it's then going, well, how do I develop a training program? You know, in our industry, it's quite tricky because there's very limited access to talented trainers. You know, there's certain people who do certain stuff and some people might come and do present present at people or whatever, but there's, often it's external with no level of accountability or understanding around what your strategic needs are. So a lot of this stuff you've sort of got to go, right, well, how do we build a repository and a memory bank of this is how we do things here? And it's not easy because, we're going through the whole process now. So how do you develop a training program and who's going to deliver it and how does it work and, what does it consist of and all that stuff? And then how do you sort of measure and adjust that, to make sure that you're on point? And you can think you've got a great program, but it's outdated in 5 seconds, So, and people get tired of hearing the same thing. So how do you sort of reposition it? But, like I had one of my top performers last week. I was in a meeting. I could see he was a bit off. We had a chat and he goes, Dino, I think it's really a good time. I think you should get the whole business together and focus on goal setting for everyone, right? So, so it's also knowing intuitively what does the team need, when do they need it? Because everyone's feeling a bit tired and needs to reset direction for 2024, as an example. So who does that? Who's, because it's not always going to be me, right? Who's going to be the best person to deliver that? Sometimes it's a colleague and sometimes it's an external trainer. And
it's a panel of top tier talent.
Yeah, or the industry makes a mistake thinking, we'll put a regional sales manager in or whatever, and the sales manager can do it. And we're expecting a sales manager to be a unicorn because they might have been a good agent or something on how they can actually train and help people, but it's not often their sweet spot. So I think, I've been up and down on this conversation and we're working through now around how do we build not just day-to-day accountability and focus that you might get from a sales manager, but who's the right person to provide certain types of training and coaching that's going to build talent. And so we're landing on this sort of coaching panel concept that we're working out, where we might have a coaching panel from all sorts of areas, including industry, out of industry, whatever, and then identifying what people's needs are and giving them access to different types of coaching with accountability out the other side. Now, it's not an easy task to do. A talent, building talent and building a talent sort of team is a concept that you've got to really probably push the boundaries on. So I don't think there's any obvious answer in our industry.
So if you looked at AFL, and we won't go to the rugby given Australia's most recent conversations, but let's have a look at the AFL. One of the things that's really clear is that every year they have like that whole thing where they recruit a whole heap of people that come into their teams. And sometimes you'll hear that that team's an old team or that team's a young team, or they've got like 8 or 9 or 10 new people that are joining, and they've got to turn up to training every week. They've got a pre-season, they've got a season, they've got to go and play out. And you start to think about that, like up across Di Jones now. How many offices have you guys got now? You're at
24.
So 24. So if we got one new salesperson per office, as an example, at the start of every year, we said, okay, great. These is now going to be our talent development squad of 2024. 24 in 24. And so what we're going to do here is that we're going to say, okay, great, what are the essential skills that these people need to learn? So we've got buckets: prospecting, listing, negotiation. And within each of those buckets, there's a series of essential skills that are going to be timeless. So how do we facilitate an open for inspection? How do we do an opener at a listing presentation? What do we believe in terms of the way that we go to present fee? Now, if you think about that, that's a core set of essential skills. So that's going to have to run all the way throughout the course of the year. And naturally, people will drop in and drop out of that as new talent arrives in the business and talent moves into different roles inside of the business. But what you're doing is you've got to make sure you've got people that are energetic to still want to deliver that. Because I think that sometimes as a business owner, to have to go back in there and to still have to train how to do an open home at year 22 is really annoying.
Oh, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that, again, like different people for different things, right? If you join our organisation, the first 90 days is a team of people that are responsibility for onboarding.
Yeah, sure.
And it covers a lot of those key conversations, but it also covers, because we also forget systems usage and all these other things. And people just bring in their old habits from their old organisation. So there's a 90-day process, and we then have competency-based assessment that goes through and says, okay, well, where are they at in relation to what our expectations are against, and if in fact they're not at the level of competency we like, we put them back through the program. But in terms of, so I guess that's
the base that you've built, right? Yeah. And then the secondary part to that is that then your needs analysis, which is what your sales managers are helping to do, and the leaders in each business that you've got, you're saying, okay, great, what's the next 5 key skills that makes Junior Josh or Junior Dean really valuable in this business? So
exactly. So some of these newer agents, like I've got a little process from years ago. I get them to do their own sort of what I call an agent self audit, where I get them to go through and look at all the key areas that you need to be able to be good at to be a high performing agent. And I get them to give me a score, 10, I'm amazing at that particular bit, or I'm actually 0, I'm nowhere. And then from that self audit, it's really good because it means that I can then identify if there's a commonality around training across the organisation, and we then have an emerging talent program which we can put them through, which happens every month, and there's a lot of role plays and scripts and dialogues and all that sort of gear. But then if that individual's got very specific needs, and I say, okay, well, over the next 12 months we're going to look at 90-day sprints and go, well, what skills can we develop? And it might not necessarily be us developing. It might be, that particular skill. We have an agent over in the South office who is really good at that. I'm going to set up for you to go and spend some time with them to understand how they do that part of the process.
Yeah.
And so these are the sort of things you've got to be flexible and nimble about and on the job, because those are the little things that help in increments that agent become, over a 12 or 18 month period, 2-year period, become high performing. But
so if you got one of your regional officers and you said to one of the sales guys, hey, come and spend a day with our top tier agent in one of our city environments and just spend a day in the car on that Saturday, it's amazing how much of an impact that can have.
Totally.
Hey, Dean, why did you do that? Why did you say that? And literally, you go into a listing presentation. Is that how you do it? And then all of a sudden, that learning, we've got to call that passport, so they get to go across different Di Jones offices in your case, is awesome, because they pick up little things that they do in the country or lifestyle locations and go, mate, we should be doing that in the city. Your video stuff is phenomenal, and you learn all of those different things to have sharing of knowledge.
Well, the real trick, Josh, even though I've just said what I've said, is to actually be able to do this consistently at scale.
Yeah.
Because even though we know, I'm just saying this is what I know what we need to do, and we are doing it in different ways. Would I say that we're doing it 100% of the time to the level that we need to? And the answer is no. So we're working on this as a key project to get right, and I think it's a never-ending piece of conversation. But if you're fair income about building talent, you've got to commit to it and be always talking, always on it. Because if you don't, then you lose good people and you won't reach your full potential.